Welcome to FB Live on Her Story. With Women's Day celebrated all over the world on March 8th, we at Her Story have already kickstarted our campaign with the hashtag Her Story Matters. Because your story, my story, and every woman's story matters. As part of Her Story Matters, we are also starting a series on FB Live today, beginning with the rights of women at the workplace. I'm Rekha here, and with me is Vibha A Setlur, who's a practicing lawyer in Bangalore. She's the co-founder and partner of a law firm, LegalChap.com, an online initiative. Her fields of expertise are laws on women's empowerment and protection and property laws. She has been working effectively for the rights and protection of women in the country. Welcome, Vibha, to Her Story Live.
Thank you so much.
So today we'll be talking to Vibha on the rights of women at the workplace, sexual harassment, what constitutes sexual harassment at the workplace, how does one complain, how does one file a case. So we'll start off with the most important question: what rights does the woman have at the workplace?
Okay. Talking about rights of a woman in workplace. So the first thing that three things that I can broadly classify is, first thing is right to safety. Every woman who works in a corporate, be it even a domestic worker till a CEO of a company, has the right to work in a condition which is safe for her. Second being the right to work with dignity. The right that she has, just because she's a woman, she shouldn't be treated in another way or in a way that reduces her dignity. So her dignity matters, you know. The third being right to work with a space given to grow. Okay. You know, a woman should be given the space to grow, because most of the time what happens is women are faced with questions which rarely the opposite sex faces, like choosing between your career, your promotion, and your own safety.
Okay.
These questions don't occur to the opposite sex much, but we have to choose between such pivotal things of our life.
Okay.
So we should not put ourselves or the women around us in our workspace in a situation where they have to choose between such major things. We need to give them safety, we need to give them dignity, we need to give them the space to work, space to grow. As I told you, grow holistically, grow in different aspects.
Okay.
So it's the duty of the organizations to take care that these rights are met with in their company.
Are these rights also protected by law?
Yes. Actually, when you talk about the Act, Protection of Women from Sexual Harassment at Workplace, that Act completely looks at this aspect of giving safety, giving dignity, giving the respect to the women that they deserve in workplaces.
Okay. So again, when you talk about sexual harassment at the workplace, what exactly constitutes sexual harassment at the workplace? The term itself is very subjective, as we have been talking about offline. So can you throw more light on the matter?
The law defines sexual harassment it classifies it into mainly two aspects. Okay. One being creating creating a hostile environment in the workspace, and second being something called as quid pro quo. Quid pro quo means this for that.
Okay.
For example, trying to offer a promotion in
order to
seek a sexual favor.
Okay.
So the Act classifies it into two aspects. And if you see any nature, because sexual harassment has different methods or modus operandi, which can be on a broad aspect classified onto these two. See, for example, controlling a person's holding on their resources and asking them to perform well can be something which is hinting towards sexual harassment. On the look of it, it might not look like a sexual harassment.
Holding resources, can you just...
Holding resources and asking a person to perform in a way that can't be performed by withholding those resources.
For example?
For example, asking to meet deadlines which are impossible.
Okay.
Which might be impossible, you know, and you know that it can't be done. Any reasonable person knows it can't be done. But such kind of pressures are put on a person in order to corner a person.
Okay, also maybe not having enough members on the team
Yes,
and
see,
expected to perform.
Yes, yes. See, with all reasonable factors in there.
Okay.
You know, if there are no reasonable factor for it, and taking arbitrative disciplinary action against a person without even the person not being made aware of why is this happening to her.
Okay.
Is something, you know, that can be that. But again, sexual harassment, if you read the act, it says sexual harassment which can be proved on face of it, and sexual harassment that needs the merit of investigation.
Okay.
You know, so on the face of it, you can say showing sexually explicit video to a lady in the office. Hey, just check
that.
it out.
That, as you pointed out, is what people think constitutes sexual harassment, rather than the one you spoke about before this.
Yes.
That,
That means
cornering you into
Yes.
doing something
Yes,
against
yes.
your will, or
Yes.
not providing you with enough
Yes.
resources.
Generally, which you don't have to prove through the merit of an investigation, would be that trying to touch a female employee in an inappropriate way, which she might not like, or trying to pass you know, sexist comments maybe on some part of their body. These are all something that you can readily understand. Okay, now this is something that I don't like. But there are some times where you yourselves don't know why is this happening to you, but you have somewhere in your mind a doubt that this is the reason.
Okay.
You know, this can be the reason.
Okay.
This is why it's happening to me.
Okay. We spoke about the subjective nature of sexual harassment, right? So what may constitute as sexual harassment to me? Like we were just talking the other day, if a colleague comes and puts his hand over your shoulder and you're feeling uncomfortable about it, it may deem to be sexual harassment for you, but your colleague may think that it's just a friendly hand on the shoulder. So what do you do in cases like these?
Yes. See, always whenever you are encountering situations like this, you might not want to go immediately and look into your company's ICC and say, okay, this man's coming and putting his hand on my shoulder, I do not like it. You might not want to do that, right? The first step towards it is understand that you make it very clear to the person who is doing this to you that you're not comfortable with it, which is the first step towards it. Because most of the time we women think we will be treated as troublemakers if we tell that, I don't like this. See, because when we're working in a setup in an MNC or anywhere, we see that different people from different cultures come together.
Yeah.
See, for example, a foreigner working with us, in his culture it's okay, but in our culture, for some people it's not okay.
Yeah.
So in such situations, sometimes it will be unknowingly a person is trying to do that.
Okay.
But maybe when we say it, they'll be okay with it.
So one goes by instinct then?
Yes, we have to go by instinct sometimes, and sometimes you have to make it very clear to the person who is trying to put you in a situation where you're feeling uncomfortable that you are not for it.
Okay.
You should be assertive in that.
Okay.
And please do not delay that response from your end, because delay makes them feel it's welcomed.
Okay, that it's all right.
Yes, it's okay. They like it. Because we never know. We cannot remain in an assumption that unknowingly they are doing it also. We can't stay in that assumption, because it's a question of our privacy and comfort.
Okay.
So we have to tell them it's a no, I do not like it.
Okay.
Please refrain from doing such things with me in my workplace. I do not, appreciate it.
Okay. Do you think there are also other subtle forms of harassment?
Yes, there are. Everything starts subtle.
Okay.
So for example, trying to call you on a lunch.
Okay.
Very subtle form. Why don't you join me for a lunch?
Okay.
Maybe they're asking it with a good intention. We never know. But you turn it down. You turn down the offer. Law says that repeated asking, even after turning it down, constitutes into sexual harassment, because it's affecting you mentally.
Okay.
It's affecting you because after a while you start avoiding that person because you know he's going to ask you out.
And what if this person is in the same team as you?
Yes.
You have to coordinate with him, meet him, interact with him every day.
That's when your call becomes really important. That's when you have to make it very sure that in what method are you making it very clear to that person that this is not accepted by you.
Okay.
You have to be a little bold in few aspects, because sometimes things start subtle. When it's subtle, you try to be subtle and tell them. But when things are not moving the way it has to move as per your response reactions,
Okay.
You have to take a step, you have to take a stand, be bold.
Okay.
Never fear that your career will be at stake or you'll be a troublemaker or anything. At the end of the day, it's your
Call.
security, it's your privacy, it's your comfort.
Yeah, sure. Complaining and filing a case, I've often felt people take it as a last resort. So, what can a woman do to make her organization and said colleague from whom she's facing sexual harassment that she's uncomfortable with what's happening? She's uncomfortable with the situation she's in.
Yes, see, as you said, complaining would be the last resort any woman will resort into. Because as I told you, for whatever reasons, as I told you. But the first thing would be, like always be open about what you feel about a particular thing. As I told you, sexual harassment is very subjective. So law says that law always, like for example, internal complaints committee is a committee that has to be organized in a company, or any investigation officer for that matter will look at sexual harassment from the eyes of the victim, not from the eyes of the perpetrator.
Okay.
Okay, that's the law. Since it's subjective,
Okay.
maybe it's just a pact, but if it was sexual harassment for me, if it has harmed me, if it has caused me discomfort, they will look in my view. They will look it from my end, not from the person's view who touched me. That's the whole idea of this act, in
Okay.
order to be helpful to the women who are in trouble. So keeping that in mind, please do not hesitate to tell what you feel. Don't have to tell that this is sexual harassment, don't do it with me.
Okay.
You don't have to say it that way, but you have to very assertively say that whatever the method of talking or anything, you like a certain distance maintained. You like getting things done a particular way. That is very important. I think that's the first way that we women can actually start making it easy for ourselves in the offices.
Okay.
Wherein we face the people. Never feel that you will be misunderstood for doing something.
Okay.
Immediately face it.
Okay.
Whenever you have felt that such a situation will cause grave incidents later, because everything starts small. For example, even stalking.
Yes.
In the office premises or outside office premises also causes is also considered sexual harassment. He might always say, I had no intentions of stalking you, I was walking by where you were walking by. It's very easy to say such things.
Okay.
But you know this is not happening like that. And when I say I know this is not a normal stalking, my investigation officer will look in my eye. He will not look in the other person's eye. Because that's the whole purpose of this act.
Okay.
So please do not think that this is a very menial thing, how do I do it? Nothing is small, because every small thing leads to a big incident.
True. So, if at all filing a complaint and redressal doesn't happen at the office, what course is open under the law?
See, you can file a complaint with the local police station that you are facing sexual harassment by, wherever your company is, in the local jurisdictional police, you can always go and file a complaint, and the police will come into an inquiry that we have received a complaint like this against your company and a staff in your company, and we want to take an investigation into it. Because that happens when the company doesn't allow the redressal mechanism to work.
Okay.
But generally, the law says that wherever more than 10 people are working in an office, there has to be an internal complaints committee for redressal. And you can always, there is a limitation period of 3 months. For example, today I have faced some form of harassment. Now, keeping the fact in mind that we women will not generally, I faced harassment, let me just go and complain it. We might not do. We like to think, we want to ponder what's happening with me. Is he trying to do something like this to me? Because we anywhere we just go with baseless allegations would not be right for us. And we are not generally troublemakers. We want to know whether this is actually happening to me. So the law gives us time of 3 months. So after every incident of sexual harassment, you have a time of 3 months wherein you can complain. And if it's a series of incidents that's happening, then 3 months from the last incident, you have the time. So you can always approach them. And if you do not find any redressal from them, imagine you have come to the ICC, you have put up your application, and your application gets done and rejected, or it's passed an order which you're not happy with, because ICC can't pass monetary orders. They can only pass adjudicational orders. So you want to go ahead, pursue this more, then you have a 90 days limitation period again to do an appellate appeal. You can even appeal on that order of ICC and all that. So you have local redressals also. So example, what if the employer who has constituted the ICC himself harasses you?
Okay. Yeah, that's
we
another
never know.
question.
Sometimes the ICC member can be harassed. Such situation. There is something called as the local complaints committee, which is run by the government, the district officer, to whom we'll have to go and complain. And now also there is the Ministry of Women and Child Development has online applications called She-Box, where you can, that is also a very useful way, because I have some of my known people who have used that service, and it's pretty good. They immediately get back and do follow up with you and with the company and everything. But the first instance where if you don't know where to go would be to go to the local police, or at least contact a lawyer who can help you. That that would be something that we can guide them from there, that if this is the situation.
Then will justice be a long drawn out process? Because always in India we always feel that the law takes its own time, and so women don't want to go through the whole process of...
See, that's the reason. The reason why companies have ICC is to procure speedy justice to women. So my suggestion to the women who are undergoing any manner of harassment in corporates or anywhere is, please use ICC. And your employer, if he has ever read the act that I'm talking about, he will know that it's very important for him to cooperate with you. It's very important. He has to provide like for example, I have faced sexual harassment in my work, and against whom I have filed a complaint. That person rejects to be on the day of investigation before the ICC, telling I have a board meeting today and my boss has told me not to miss it.
Okay.
It can't. My employer has to cancel that meeting for him to be there in the ICC.
So that is
investigation.
Yeah.
So basically, you imagine the level of speedy adjudication that will happen at this level.
Okay.
Because you might be the sole concern of the company. But when you enter the courts of law, as you know, there are millions of litigations out there.
Yeah.
And you will have to follow the course of law. So the government and the law and the legal system, keeping in mind the fact that there has to be speedy justice given to women who are working, because always you can't put on hold your job somewhere and go and fight for something.
Yes.
Not practical. Though I can say fight. Sometimes it's not practical. So in such situations, effectively use these mechanisms that are available, because they are serious mechanisms. People sitting there are equipped to handle these things.
Okay.
There has to be an external member in the ICC. ICC is Internal Complaints Committee.
Yeah.
So there has to be an external member who has the knowledge or legal knowledge on all these aspects.
Is it mandatory?
It is mandatory.
Okay.
Any company who's caught not having this can be at the first instance fined with around 50,000 worth fine, and if he's a repeat offender, they can even cancel his license, company's license.
That's a company with more than 10 employees.
More than 10 employees. Everybody should have this.
Okay.
And this is mandatory, because harassment happens in smallest ways. Even passing lewd joke by saying, oh, it was just a joke, itself also can constitute a sexual harassment if the person who heard it feels offensive. So that's very important.
So the ICC is really a step in the right direction for workplaces in India, especially when it comes to women. Because organizations have to understand that they are bound to take care of the safety of their employees. They are bound, because at the end of the day, it even helps them, because there is a holistic development in the staff. Staff feels safe, the work productivity will be high, because when you have to imagine a day when I have to come to an office and I know I have to meet this boss who is just waiting to see me inappropriately, it affects me. Mentally, it affects me to face that person again. So when you have an internal complaints committee, when you have, and also the act says that the organizations, the employers have to sensitize on periodically the employees
on the aspect of sexual harassment at workplace.
Okay.
It's very important, and they have to make known to all the employees that this office is a zero tolerance place for sexual harassment.
Okay.
So when all these kinds of measures are taken by organizations, people will take precautions, because nobody would want to put their career at stake and perform an act of sexual harassment. Nobody would want to.
True.
When organizations are loose on these aspects, these problems arise.
Okay.
You know, when they say it's okay, it happens. Because there are some situations where organizations with ICC says it's okay, it happens, let's just try to overlook it. No, that's where our determination comes into play. When we stand strong, they have to bow down, because they would not want their names pulled out in the courts.
True.
You know? So they want things to settle. Okay, she's serious about it, let's do something about it.
Okay.
So that's where we women have to help ourselves, use the ICC setup, use the investigation methods. So we conduct training to ICC members, the staff, we sensitize employees. So the initiative We Matter that I do, we do this. So
Okay.
we sensitize the employees on how not to commit the act, train them, give them, you know, most of these big companies provide training sessions.
Okay.
So it's mandatory, every company should have. Now, even if you're talking about women, companies where there are less than 10 employees, for example, imagine a domestic worker, maid, who comes to our house. How is even she is covered under this law.
Okay.
You know, even she's covered under this law. There is something called as local complaints committee that I talked about, wherein she can seek her redressal.
Okay.
If not, she can always go to the police station.
Okay.
You know, and another thing what I would also like to tell is, it's not, this act is not just for permanent employees. Okay, now what if, for example, I am in a company where a vendor comes and harasses me, even he will be held liable.
Okay.
He need not be a permanent employee or even an employee in my office.
Okay.
Even vendors, people entering and going my office, are also to be bound. That's where organizations have to take ultimate care in putting up everywhere in their office on the principles, or every office, every company should have policy against sexual harassment.
Okay.
So people who enter and go out also know that this office doesn't encourage this.
Okay. Finally, how can women be encouraged to speak up, which is most important?
Sorry. So first thing is, speak up without delay. Delay means delay kind of welcomes them. The more you delay, they feel, I think she's okay with it. Do not delay. Speak up without delay. And another major thing which I want to really encourage women to do who have faced encounters as such is, speak up with facts. See, most of the time what happens when you go and say, this man's doing this to me, I'm very uncomfortable. People will say, hey, chalta hai, let's, you know, just thoda aur din dekhna, kya hota hai, you know. But when you go with facts, they say, experts say, maintain a book. When you have a particular incident where you felt this was something not welcomed by me and I was totally uncomfortable about it, write down the exact location where it happened, people who were present at what time it happened. I'm not saying this because this is like a major evidence that you have collected. You know, some people might ask, I wrote it, why would anybody believe it? You know, it's not to prove that fact. It's just to prove that you're very accurate in providing your information. So when you are accurate in providing your information, what happens is the company or the investigation officer will understand that, you know, okay, this woman is not lying or she's not trying to make trouble here. She has some facts to it.
To back up her claim.
Yes, to back up her claim. Where? Because imagine the investigation officer asks you, where did this happen? What did he do? He just tried to put his hands inappropriately on me. I don't remember whether it's canteen or boardroom. I do not know. So the first impression on the investigation officer, she's not serious about it. She has no idea where it happened.
Okay.
Okay, let's just, you know, try to handle it the other way. So please be accurate in
Okay.
providing your information. And speak up without fear. That's the one thing. Please don't fear that your name will be out or your career will be at stake, because law provides ultimate rule of confidentiality. Even the witnesses who are coming in to speak on behalf of you are not allowed to talk about it till the matter is settled. These are not what I'm saying just because I feel like saying. These are all laws that are there. If you go open the act, you will read it.
Okay.
That these are there.
Okay.
That your name, your address, your age, your designation, nothing will be revealed anywhere,
Okay.
publicly or within the office.
Okay.
So these are all available. So please do not get scared that, oh my God, my job will be gone. I'll be, I won't have this job anymore if I do this. He's senior. Nothing matters.
Okay.
As long as you are strong and want to fight it out.
And as long as your story matters and what you talk about it,
Yes.
which is exactly our thoughts at Her Story, that every story matters, yours, mine, her story matters. Thank you so much for joining.